Pearce, what a pleasure to chat to you. How are you keeping yourself happy at the moment, buddy?
Well, yeah, I am basically. I think I'm lucky in a lot of ways because I've got my family around me. My lad's at home from university because he can't go. He'll be 21 this year.
Wow.
So he's studying from home, but he seems all right. And I think basically they've been protecting me, you know, because I'm old and I've got lots of bits missing. Where so I'm, you know, I'm high risk. So they've been protecting me, bless them.
Well, I was a bit depressed the other day when I worked out that I was in the top 4 groups.
Really?
And I don't know how that happened. Suddenly I've become, well, I'm 64 next month. And I thought, how the hell has that happened? It only seemed 2 minutes ago I was gigging for the first time. Go on.
I'm 70 on Monday.
No.
Yeah. Still having sex at 70 and I only live at 58.
Boom.
No, seriously, I can't believe it though. I know I look it a bit at the moment, but you know, I don't feel my age, I have to say.
Well, they do say that, you know, if you're happy and smiley, people see that first before they see age. And our job is to make people feel happy and smiley. He's doing it now. Everyone knows.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yes. We have to be happy and smiley. I know. Well, that's what it's all about. That's what we do for a living, isn't it? We're happy and smiley.
I have been compared, and I'm sure you have before, compared to doctors and stuff. And first of all, I thought, hello. Yes. And then I suddenly thought, well, actually, we improve mental health by making people feel better than before they walked in the theatre, sort of thing.
Yes. I was talking to somebody the other day about it and saying, what do I miss? And I said, the sound of laughter. You know, I know it's our job and the money is a bit of a worry and everything, but I said it's not a job really, it's a passion. And I just love it, you know, like doing 2 shows a day in pantomime and things like that. Every audience is different and it's smashing. A lady said to me once at Stage Door, she was a very large lady with huge front. And she said, you've made me laugh so much. I was laughing so much, I burst the buttons on my blouse. Well, that just makes me laugh, you see. But yeah, I mean, you can't please everybody. You know, sometimes there's a bit of a mismogs out there, but I tend to ignore them now. I used to pick on them years ago.
So did I. But as you get more secure in what you're doing, you sort of pull away from that. But we used to hone in on the only person on the front row not smiling, didn't we?
Yes. And I find myself nowadays, if there's somebody like that on the front row, and I'm looking at people as my eyes go around, I go like this. You know, so I don't look at the miserable one. You know, sometimes I'll be thinking, why aren't they laughing? What's the matter? They're the only one they sat there on. Why aren't they laughing?
I don't understand that logically. And I always say the loudest noise that you hear from an audience is a tut.
Tut.
Yeah, if you're doing a gag or a routine and it's going a bit quiet and you just hear one person go,
oh yeah.
Psychologically, you're like, what am I doing with my life? I had a lovely chat with Jethro ages ago and we were talking about what we do. And he said, we haven't got qualifications like professors and people that have gone to university, but we've studied this for so long, and we don't have a piece of paper that says how clever we are. What we get is someone saying that they burst the buttons on the front of their blouse. That's our recognition.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I've always remembered that, you know, because it was a funny thing to say, but it just made me smile thinking that this woman laughing, and of course it'd be like riding a horse, wouldn't it, for this poor lady with these, a big front end. So it was quite funny.
A lady once said to me, she said, and we're keeping this happy, she said, I haven't laughed once since I lost my husband, and tonight I couldn't stop laughing. And in that made me feel special.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get things like that make it up. And sometimes you forget that, especially pantomime, you're kind of part of their lives, and they bear the soul to you sometimes. They tell you all sorts. And I'm sure you know, so it's a bit, I feel guilty sometimes, but before I go on, especially in pantomime or summer season, I always have the speakers on in the dressing room so I can hear the noise of the audience. Right? Yeah, so that, you know, they're all out there. And that kind of psychs me up as well, thinking, oh, you know, I wonder what they're going to be like and all that.
I always have it up so loud that I can hear everything.
Yes, that's great, isn't it? And I try and find a little peephole where I can have a look at them before I go on.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes if I'm going to pick on somebody in the audience, a woman, I'll almost make my mind up which one it's going to be because you don't put one of them, do you?
Exactly. You can see the ones that are happy to be there. And Billy, I know you didn't do this year, and I was one of the few lucky ones that did pantomime this year.
Yes.
Because that was in Plymouth and they were in a different tier system.
Yes.
The audience were separated. Yes. They were wearing masks. Yes. But you still knew the ones that were enjoying themselves, because it's not just this, it's the whole body. They give you their happiness. And we lost about 3 days. I was with Les Dennis, who sends his love, by the way.
Bless him.
We lost about 3 days at the end because we went into tier 3, but we were the last running panto in the country, and we had to keep 6 feet away from each other on stage. It was bizarre.
Yes. Well, I never quite got. I actually arrived in Manchester, booked a flat for a month, and me and my wife, and we got up. We were supposed to start at 10 o'clock in the morning, because after Bradford collapsed, I was supposed to be in Manchester Opera House with Jason Manford.
That's right.
And of course, I thought, oh, I'm dead lucky to work with him. You know, I was really looking forward to it. I heard he's smashing and all that, so I was looking forward to it. Yeah. But we had all these rules and regulations, you know, about we couldn't do. You had to live on your own. You couldn't share a flat with somebody. You couldn't do this. You had to rehearse like separately. To sit on a chair in the wings and do all that.
That's what we did.
And I thought, oh, it's going to be torture, this. But anyway, it never got that far, because at 11:30 that morning, it stayed in tier 3. So I got in my car and come home, and that was it. So that was second pantomime I'd learned. But yeah, so.
You're back again this year.
Yes. Yeah, all things going all right. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to it. I'll be ready for that then. We've got a long time to rehearse, haven't we?
Well,
you know what I mean? It's going to be the best one ever.
The reason for doing this chat show thing is that no one really, unless you're in a job that has kept going because it's a vital service, no one really knows what's happening. I've got dates booked. I've got a musical booked about a West Country guy called Adge Cutler that I've done before. I'm meant to be doing in the summer. All that and the pantomime, it's all there. We don't know whether we're doing it. Our job is just to keep ourselves up and happy. So what do you do with yourself all day, Bill?
Well, stuff like this. And I've taken up, I'm very good at vacuuming now. And vacuuming.
Oh,
yes. In fact, today, Thursday, is my vacuuming day.
Oh, I can't believe I've held you up.
Yeah, so, you know, and lots of phone calling and stuff like that. But, you know, until
right, do you write? Are you writing for Panto for this year?
I've been lazy. I have been lazy, I have to say. I think a lot of it was I was a bit down as well after Panto. All the things that happened, it was almost a relief when everybody, that was it, you know. It was the, is it on, is it off, is that going to work? All my gigs went, you know what I mean? And they were going, moving dates and then having to move them again. And, you know, there was all sorts going on. And I was a bit fed up with it, really. And also all the conspiracy theories, right? Do you know what I mean? If I spoke to anybody, that would do me head in. I had to go and have a flu jab one day, and I met the next door neighbour down the road. And I said to her, it was on around corner. I was walking the dog and I had to get home and then go and have my flu jab. So I was in a bit of a rush. So I'd get dog out, take it home, go and have my flu jab. So I said, I can't stop now. I've chatted for a little bit. I said, I've got to get off. I said, because I'm having my flu jab this morning. And she says, little old lady, she went, I'm not having my flu jab. I said, why? She said, they inject you with COVID. I said, what? She said, they inject they injected with COVID. She said, well, that's so, it's that herd immunity. So they're injecting everybody, so everybody's got it, and then it's herd immunity. I'm not having my flu jab. I went, oh, right, okay, then I'll go, I'll see you later.
There's so much rubbish out there on the internet. This is why I'm trying to find a bit of happiness here, because, you know, life is not a lot more complicated than it used to be if you strip it back. We care about our home, we care about our families, we like to pay our bills, and we like to cheer people up. And none of that changes. I think if you let all them conspiracy theories in, you can just squash yourself now. Sorry.
Well, I've been up and down, you know what I mean? You listen to that stuff and you get fed up, and then and that weather's rubbish, and you know it does. You know, but I can't complain really, to be honest. You know, when you think about it, I'm lucky really.
Yeah. So, not only are you a professional comedian and a pantomime legend, but you also have the fullest wardrobe of anyone I've ever interviewed.
I haven't come here to be laughed at.
Where did you normally go for that?
Do you know, I was on, I always say this, you know, about audiences and stuff. And you always remember the bad ones. But there was one night when I actually got booed off walking on.
I walked off to the sound of my own feet. In the early days, when I did a cruise once, I never forget, and it was tough because I like to go slightly more surreal, not be too traditional. And this guy came up to me afterwards and told me how bad I was. And this is in the early days, and I tried to explain to him why I was funny. And it's only after you've got the experience that you think, you're never going to like me. What I do is not for you. Move on and entertain the people that want to see it. And that was been the of panto for me, because pantos have gone well, and then people come back and see me in a stand-up show. I've got an audience that are actually wanting to see what I do, which is exactly what you get.
Yeah. I do, but sometimes because I do an adult show as well, so sometimes you get the people that see me in panto, and they're a bit, you know, and I see them, and I go, please don't be offended. You know what? Tonight's adult. It's not a pantomime. It's adult tonight. You know what I mean? There might be some stuff there that you can see they're a bit, you know. If you're happy,
it is adult on the poster. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get into. I believe you got into this side of the business that we both do, the comedy thing, in a similar way to me, because I started off as Git Vok in clubs and stuff, and played banjo and ukulele, and from the age of 12 I was gigging, you know, I got my first paid gig at 12 singing songs.
I've got it now then, I've got it. Well, you know, I'll tell you a story, right, before you carry on.
Right.
I asked if I could do that summer season on the pier at, where is it? You did seasons at? Cromer Pier, right? So I thought that would be ideal for me. It was the last summer season ever going. So I kind of let it out. You've done a few years and you were moving on. And I let it out that I could, it would suit me to do that. You know, I'd slot in nicely in one of them shows. And I heard back that they wouldn't have me because I was too like Andy Ford.
That is awesome. I've been following traditional comics, and I tried to spice it up a bit, and the producer said, this is just what we need. We're going to modernize it. And they hated me. A lot of them hated me. And my mum actually made the trip all the way to North Norfolk to watch it. And she sat in the audience, and the woman next to her leant across and said, he's not as funny as the bloke last year, is he? My mum, well, he's my son, and I think he's hilarious. So you started by performing in musicals and stuff, didn't you? Because of your, I mean, I know your mum did the school and your dad was a concert pianist, so you grew up in the musical side of the business?
Well, when I was a kid in 1894, my mum used to choreograph all these amateur shows like the Leeds Thespians and all them, the Dewsbury Collegians and all these amateur operatic groups that used to put on these musicals, and especially at the Grand in Leeds, they used to take it over for a couple of weeks and sell out. So, so they're all amateurs, and it'd be things like The Sound of Music, Oklahoma, Brigadoon, South Pacific, Music Man, all those kinds of big shows. And they were, when I was a kid, my first job was a Siamese twin in The King and I at the Empire Theatre in Leeds, and I was 6 years old. It's because there were always shorter boys. There was no boys went to dancing class. So me and brother, we used to get roped in for all these bits and bats, and it kind of carried on then until, when I was I think I was about 18 or 19, and I was playing Rolf in The Sound of Music. You are 16, going on 17. And then I finished up, then I played guitar, and I started off doing folk clubs. I was terrified. Yeah, I did a bit of that. And then I went to Butlins with a lad that went to my mum's dancing school, Andrew Beaumont. His sister's Jane Beaumont, and Stutz Bear Cats and all that. I don't know if you remember all them.
Yeah, I do,
Yeah, so we're all a bit show busy, really, actually, like yourself,
Yeah, well, my dad was a sort of he liked singing in pubs just with his mates, so he didn't do anything professionally, but he loved it, and he taught me all the old songs, and that was material that I first, I'd go in a club and sing There Is a Tavern in the Town and stuff like that. And I taught myself to play guitar, and eventually I went into bands, and when I went into bands, someone would break a string, I'd have to fill in, and I tried doing gags. So that's how that sort of came in. What about you? When did the comedy start?
Just going back to that, I had a girlfriend who split up with me when I was learning to play the guitar, and she was gorgeous, and she said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm sick of playing second fiddle to a guitar.
We'll be here all week.
She said she finished with me because I was always practicing and that. No, I'm not coming out.
I really wish she really said that.
Hey,
she did. She did really say that.
Yeah, she did. That's what she said. Yeah, she said, yeah.
That's
it's not a joke. She said, I'm sick of playing second fiddle to a guitar. So, I loved it. Anything I've done, like my tap dancing and things like that, I took to it like I wanted to do it really desperately. So I looked at each thing, and I thought, when I went to Butlins as a redcoat with Andrew Beaumont, who sadly passed away, we had to do a spot each and that in the show. And we got £15 a week, and we were redcoats, and we were in the little redcoat show, which you did 2 or 3 nights, and then you're in charge of the singing in the bar late at night, and the whist drive, and the Nobbling Ease competition, and all that sort of thing, in the daytimes. And so it was a bit of a baptism of fire for me, but I enjoyed it. But it was my first time. I can remember the first thing I had to do on my own, which was in Old Time Music Hall, and it was honey, honeysuckle, I am the bee. I'd like to sip the honey sweet from those 2 lips you see. You are my... And I couldn't remember the words, and I just kept singing the same words over and over and over. They all were laughing. They all thought it was hilarious.
It's a sketch.
I was terrified, mate. I was absolutely terrified. It took me ages to realise I was a comedian, or people perceived me as being. I still don't think I'm a comedian. But in the club programmes, when we used to do clubs up here years ago, all miners' welfares, they had a club programme. And the club programme said who was going to be on at that club. And they were all advertising all the acts. And the acts would have, if it was a female vocalist, it would just put FM, like female, FV, sorry, female vocalist. And if it was, Git Voc, mine used to say, Billy Pearce, Git Voc, Tap, Banj, Uke, right? And at the end it'd say,
like a disease, man.
It'd say, come, com at the end. Well, one day I got the club programme and it didn't say any of that at all. It just said com. And I thought they'd got me down as a comedian. I'm a comedian. I couldn't believe it.
So that's I better be funny then.
Yeah. I always liked being funny.
Yeah,
in fact, that's one reason why we split up in the double act, because he didn't like me being funny. He wanted to be more of a pop star.
Right.
And that kind of thing, and be the vocal side of it. We used to do Everly Brothers and stuff like that.
Did you?
Yeah, and a Jolson medley. We should do a Jolson medley.
Did you? I used to do all them songs when I was ickle. But yeah, so getting into the business, it was vocals before comedy. But who were your comedy heroes? Who were the guys you used to watch that you thought, that's just the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life? Who sort of inspired you?
Well, in the old days, you can remember there was obviously Morecambe and Wise for the start off. You'd have to just Dick Emery, Tommy Cooper, and those kind. And I used to, when I was a kid, George Formby and the George Formby films. You know, all that, and Norman Wisdom.
Yeah,
you know, people like that, and
very similar.
Yeah, and as time went on, then it became Cannonball and Little and Large, and who else would I say? Oh, Freddie Starr.
Yeah.
When he was good, he was a genius, absolute genius. And you'd watch him. I tell you one time, I pack up. You know, I could never. You know, there's people I watch and I think I could never be as funny.
But the thing is, Billy, you don't see yourself. We don't see ourselves as other people see you. To me, you're a one-off. You don't need to do what Freddie Starr does because you do what Billy Pearce does. And it's difficult to see that yourself. But that when I was, because you're a few years before me, but also...
Thanks ever so much for reminding me.
Only a few, but you were the time when I was getting into comedy properly that I love. I knew I didn't want to do what you did because I couldn't do that. But what you did was so original and funny, it inspired me to want to be funnier. So we don't know who we're inspiring every time.
You did it.
What?
And you did it.
Right. This is what I'm going to throw at you, because I've been watching a comedy routine that you did. It's on YouTube, and if anyone wants to go and watch it, it's you dressed as a frog.
All right.
And you climb up this rock, and you want to be kissed by a girl to turn back into you. But the comedy is hell. I was crying with laughter. You've got this suit on, this frog suit with green tights and a thong. You're back to the audience wearing flippers and trying to climb this rock. It's so slow and deliberate, the comedy. You can't use any facial expression to make people laugh because you're facing the wrong way. You're timing against the laughter of the audience. It's brilliant. It's just one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I was wondering if someone like Chaplin or Keaton inspired you when you were little, because that was a silent movie.
Yes, Charlie Chaplin, of course. I think Charlie Chaplin more than Buster Keaton. Although I was watching a thing on YouTube about him doing all his own stunts.
Really?
Yeah, but so it showed a couple of clips. I'm sure it was him, and there's like a hole in the road, and he's in this old car, and he's driving towards this hole, and as the car hits the hole, it completely falls apart and he tumbles down the road. But it's like just a pile of scrap. Do you know when they have those clown cars? It was just brilliant. I mean, you know, I don't know how they did it, because it was actually, you know, there's no camera tricks, is there, when they're doing all that?
Yeah.
Great, isn't it, really?
He inspired Michael Crawford to do some of that stuff on some other stuff. But I guess you were inspired by him because it was very physical and deliberate. And sometimes the difficult thing with comedy is staying with something and sometimes the longer you do it, the funnier it becomes. And that takes, you know, you've got to be brave to do that. It takes courage.
Yes. I mean, if they didn't like it, I'd get up the rock quicker.
But it was just beautiful. So did you write that?
Well, obviously the joke was, and the song was specially written for it. I think it was Ollie Ashmore who wrote it. Kiss This Frog it was called. And so basically it was I don't know if I was the first one to do it, because it did go into other pantomimes with other people making their own version of it.
Yeah.
So all I had was a rock and the costume then, and I asked to do the bit with the thong and and then the gloves. I found one day that if I got my hand stuck, do you know what I mean? It made me pull the thing out and it made me fall back down.
It grows, Billy. It grows.
Yes. But I think that's what happens in pantomime, because you find you get a laugh with something and you keep it in then, don't you? Which is why I always get them to write it short. So there's somewhere to go.
And the other thing, it's not the bane of our life, but I'm sure you feel the same. The press always come and critique it 2 days in, when if they wait another week, everything would have been like that.
Yeah. And I don't like it when they film bits of the dress run and put it on the internet, because there's no audience there and it's art and all that. You know, I think, why did you do that? But the press and I always think that it could be honed. You know, there's things like that. One year, it was funny. It did work brilliantly, but it was a shame as well. Was the animatronic bear?
Right.
So we called it. It was called. Oh, sorry, but it was called Bertie the Bear from Barnsley.
Right.
And my mate was in the wings, and he got a right deep Barnsley voice. He's called Jack Noble. He's brilliant. So when I heard him in rehearsal, I'd never met him before, and I heard this sort of deep baritone voice. And rather than, because I was going to do it myself and put it on a track, but I asked him if he'd do it. So he used to stand in the wings and do it, which gave us the leeway, so it wasn't tracked by the track. You see what I mean? So he gave us a bit. So this first night, when all the press are there, we'd done a couple of shows, but the press are in. And I sat the thing down on the bench and walked away, and it starts talking, and it's talking, and they said, don't say out when it comes back. And so I comes running out, and they said, I'm sure I heard somebody talking. It was talking, and all the kids going, the bear, you don't know about the bear. So I turn around, and I goes, was you talking? Aye, lad, I wasn't. All that thing. So I moved its head a couple of times, the voice worked, and then the mouth went like that. It stayed like that. Oh dear. It was the funniest thing. Well, because the beauty of it was it worked for a bit before it stopped. If it had just stopped, they wouldn't have understood what had happened, but because it did work for a bit. And so that was funny. But of course...
Could you make it do that every night?
No, we didn't, no. It finished up, I tell you, that was a piece of panto brilliance. I looked at, you know, like you're talking about the frog and things, there's certain things that stick out in your head that you think, and there's a few. There's one where dogs come in. There's a few like, he used to chase anybody on a bike till I took the bike off him.
Boom!
No, he just sits in the cabbages and peas. There's not a single flea on that dog. They're all married with families. I call him Isaiah because one eye's higher than the other. He's got an ingrowing tail. I have to look up his arse to see if he's happy. Oh dear. Oh, so,
I know what we're talking about.
But pantomime and those bits. you know, there's some bits that that you think when they give you in the script, you thought, that's never going to work, that's not going to work, that's going to work. And then it does, sometimes, you know.
But also,
the same thing. Like,
if you read something on script and you can't see how it's going to work, and you're told, well, it's worked every year, and you think, well, I want to make it my own, but I don't want to stop it from working.
Andy Ford did it. He got laughs.
Well, funny enough, I wrote a line-up thing for Peter Pan with the sword, and I know that it had been taken and used in lots of different pantomimes. So when I was going to do it again, this was with Barbara at Bristol, Barbara Windsor, and we got to rehearsing, and I said to the guys, you what?
I hate name droppers. I was only saying to the Queen.
and so we were about to do it, and they said, don't worry, we've done this loads of times. I said, how can you have done it loads of times? I wrote this. And anyway, we did it. This is before I realized that everyone had been doing it. We did it, and someone came up to me afterwards and said, that's the first time that has ever made me laugh. And I thought, that's because you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
If you don't believe in the routine and know where it comes from, you can't make it work, can you?
No. Well, they kind of apply to doing in my stand-up and everything. You know, I do a bit of also. I do stuff that I've written myself, but there's a lot of gags and I've embellished them, and there's things that happen all the way through. But I kind of, if it don't get a laugh, then, and I try it a few times, even if I think it's funny, I have to drop it because I can't just persevere with something that's not getting a laugh. But I get great pleasure if I write something and it gets a laugh. You know, so I did a gig in halfway through the, you know, when we could. Yeah. But it was in line work for ages. So I went on, I wrote a few bits. Do you know what I mean about not working? So my first bit was like, good evening. And just, good evening, good evening. Evening, evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Sorry, I haven't worked for 5 months and all I can remember is good evening. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Right.
I did a gig in the middle of it all, and I said, you know, it's tough for people in our business at the moment, and there's a charity record just been released to try and raise funds for people they can't work. I'd like to sing it for you tonight. There's no business.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but our thing is just to use, you know, what's out there, really. What's your motivation? What gets you up in the mornings, Bill?
Right, I'm going to tell you something now. I went to bed at 2 o'clock last night and I couldn't sleep. And I was up again at 3 and I haven't been to bed since. I've had a couple of hours on tea. My whole, it's all upside down. You know what I mean? Because what have I, like I say, I should have acted today. But it's my birthday on Monday, so we're going to leave the back until the last minute. And so the house looks nice for my birthday, because in our bubble, Kerry's mum and dad, who I have to stress are tested on a regular basis by the government thingy-majig, and they're clear. And do you know what I mean? So everything's hunky-dory, so it's just us. So we're going to make sure the house is clean, but that's it, and I'm looking forward to that. The rest of the time, if the weather weren't nice, if the weather was nice, I'd be in my garden. I love going out in my garden and stuff. And it's been snowing and it's brought a tree down. So one of my jobs is, when it's a bit better weather, is to get my wellies on and go out and chop this tree up and shove it through my shredder. See what an exciting life I lead. And then I've got to clean my gutters. That's another job. And I've got a flat roof that's leaking. So there's another job.
Go.
Well, I started writing my book, and I got about into my upbringing when my mother died. And so it was all about my mum and that, and I just, if I put that aside, I'm kind of maybe might start again. So that was one thing. The other thing I should be doing is working on my act. You know, when you've been going as long as I have, I should be better. And
Well,
And,
that way I was, for a while, I was doing the Sunday night live thing on Facebook. I did half an hour of different comedy every week, just to make myself do it. There was no laughter. I couldn't hear any laughter, but I had to trust in myself. And there was,
that'd be no change for me at all, mate. No change for me. That'd be make it dead easy. It's like, where would we be without a laugh? Ear.
So here's like the $64 million question. Do you still love it, Billy?
I do. I got to a point when, because I think that, especially doing the gigs that I do, and I thought maybe it's time to knock them on the head, because it's hard when I go on at 10 o'clock at night and I've got to do an hour plus to people who've been inebriated since 7:30, and they've got no respect for me, and I battle through, and I win, but it's like I'm a crowd control officer and not what I want to be.
That's
as a comedian. Try my hardest. So I get disheartened by that, and there's a period of time when because I've done them all my life, and the audiences have changed now. They're not the same. They don't have this. I don't mean to sound keeping it upbeat, but they don't have the same respect that they used to have.
No, yeah, it's different in some ways, comedy. But if it was funny before, it's funny now, providing you're playing to the people that find it funny. That's what it's all about. Did you hear about Arthur Askey's last gig?
No, go on.
I'll tell you. He went on at 11:30 at night in a club. Stag nights, hen nights, right. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome comedy legend, Mr. Arthur Askey. Play on. Da, 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 da. He comes out and he says, "Hello, playmates." Someone shouts out, second word's off, and he goes, "Good night, playmates," and straight off. Isn't that the best?
Yes.
Sometimes we'd all like to do that, wouldn't we?
Yes, I've heard of people, singing in the audience and going out the door at the back with the radio mic and getting in the car and going home, singing. Yeah.
Well, my manager told me once he struggled so much at a club, and the only way out was through the club. And he was in the dressing room and just opened the window and dropped down to his
had to leave his shoes. But those kind of nights, we laugh about them. I'm very lucky, though, to be honest, Andy, because I take my own sound with me, and I've got a big van and a couple of guys that could do me sound. It's ridiculous, the amount of stuff I've got for a comic. But it helps with all my musical things. Yeah. Anyway, so we always come back, and I wait up for them to come back with a van. And I've got a little studio, so we're in there, and we have a chat and analyse the night and laugh it all off. So I'm kind of not on my own, if you see what I mean. Yeah. It's the loneliest place in the world if you're on your own. But so they sort of, they give me company and all that. They're great lads. So... hopefully we can do it again soon. But I was going to say, I'm going to do every gig that comes in when we can go back to work, whether I like it or not, because I want to work. A, I want to work, and B, we've got to make up, haven't we, for lost time.
Exactly, and there's lots of things to spend money on. I mean, you could get yourself a brand new vacuum cleaner or something. Imagine that.
Or a bigger wardrobe.
Billy, thank you so much for chatting to me today, mate. It's hilarious, and you're one of my all-time comedy heroes. And just to chat to you about what you do has been awesome. Stay happy.
You too.
And have a fantastic panto this year at Bradford at the Alhambra. And take care, mate. And hopefully speak to you soon.
Yes, Andy, listen to me now. It's been a pleasure talking to you. You're one of the nicest blokes in show business, and I've always loved you. You're brilliant. Bless you, mate.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Happy days.